Race nutrition can make or break your run. Trust me, I've learnt it the hard way. From choking on energy bars during the Valencia Marathon to my infamous gel failure that left me vomiting on the side of the road in Reading, I've had more than my fair share of disasters. So, let's break down what works and what doesn't work. As the saying goes, I've fallen down a few pit holes, so you don't have to. Here's what I'm working with today. On the side, we've got a selection of different energy and protein bars. The first four have got their protein levels clearly indicated, but what does that mean in reality? Whereas the bottom two are more sort of cheap and cheerful energy bars, but they're all, one way or another, provided for exercise and specifically for running. Then we've got some energy gels. These three here are non-caffeine based, whereas this one has got caffeine. And typically, if you're in a marathon and gels are provided, they'll either provide you with a caffeine-based gel or non-caffeine. Normally both are available. Then here we've got antioxidant fruit juice. Everybody's favourite, the Snickers and Twix bars direct from the chocolate bar area in the local supermarket. And then finally, I've got here some packets of what are essentially jelly versions of the of what it is that you get from the energy gels, but they're a slightly more sort of solid version of the gels. Anyway, we'll talk about those, see how they stack up together. But before we do that, a couple of cautionary tales. During the Valencia Marathon, I packed those energy bars thinking, great, these will keep me going. Mile 12 rolls around, I'm hungry, I tear one open, trying to wrestle through it, wasn't great. But then trying to chew on it, oh my God, it was like sandpaper. No matter how much water I drank, I couldn't get it down. Moral of the story, always test your snacks on training runs. Don't just rely on testing it out in the kitchen. Here's a picture of some of the protein and energy bars that I've been using recently. The cheap and cheerful bars that I tried to use in the Valencia Marathon were a disaster. They probably impacted on my final finish time. Not great. I had tried them before. I bought them to the marathon and they were okay, but in genuine running conditions, they weren't good. The more expensive bars that I've shown here might be worth trying, but I think they're only worth a small tick. My preferred solid food, if you can call it solid, are the little jellies in the picture. They're much easier to eat on the run, and water isn't strictly necessary, but frankly, I prefer to sip water at the same time as I suck and swallow them. It makes them much more palatable. Anyway, the best general advice I can give is always give the bars a trial in realistic running conditions. That way you'll know whether they work for you or not. And then there's my relationship with gels. I'd entered the Reading Half Marathon in the UK, and it was very cold in April, and I took some gels with me. I took a gel after about 30 minutes and didn't feel great about it. My stomach felt a little bit queasy, kept on running for a while, but 45 minutes later I got violently sick, and yeah, it wasn't a pretty sight. Now, it turns out that there are lots of different kinds of gel. Who would have guessed it? And by the way, they're not all created equal. There are gels to use early in a run, gels to use later. There are caffeine-free gels, of course, and then there are gels loaded with caffeine. Most gels, I suppose, need to be taken with sips of water. But, of course, we've also got isotonic gels that don't need any water at all. So, what's the trick? Well, speak with the staff in the shop where you go to buy the gels and get their advice if it's at all possible. Then test one or two gels out with flavours that you are pretty solid with and use them on some training runs. Just sip the gels. Don't empty the whole packet in one go. I know it's messy, but even so, if you can run with the gel and sip the gel during the run, bit at a time, that's the way to go. If you need to take water with your gels, and most of the gels do need water, the staff member should be able to guide you. And remember to take the water. It helps to settle the stomach. A couple of weeks ago, I went for a long recovery run from the Valencia Marathon, and over the course of the run, I took some unfamiliar gels with me and I sipped them without any problems. So the trick is train your stomach for the gels that you decide to use. After my gel fiasco and the energy bar debacle, I got to thinking, what if I just raid the kids' aisle in the local supermarket for chocolate bars? These bars are really easy to eat. They're amazingly tasty and actually surprisingly effective for shorter runs. A big plus, they cost a lot less than protein bars and energy gels. Just take a whole stack of them and you're sorted for your long runs. Let's try one out as a reminder. I don't think you'd ever regret taking one of these out for a run. They're fantastic. Always test your nutrition under realistic running conditions before race day. Don't assume that because something works for another person, it will automatically work for you too. Hydration is massively important. Make sure your nutrition plan includes liquids, specifically electrolytes. So what's the takeaway from this video? It's really simple. Test, test, and test again. Whether it's gels, protein energy bars, or even a kid's chocolate snack bar. Make sure it works for you under realistic running conditions before race day. And hey, if it doesn't work, at least you'll have a funny story to share, a bit like me and my Valencia disaster. So, what's your current go-to race nutrition like? Drop it in the comments. I'd love to hear your tips and running experiences with it. If you've actually made it this far to the end of the video, congratulations. That's awesome. So thank you very much. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with your fellow runners.